Hello, hello, hello. It's your old pal, Rich Drezen again, and, yeah, I am flying by the seat of my pants as per usual with the live show, but at the same time, I couldn't be more excited or honored to have some more incredible talent here tonight to celebrate Black History Month as well as celebrate the talents of these incredible creators as I finish whatever the hell I'm doing so that we can show you our very distinguished guests. So, guests, would you kindly introduce yourselves?
He- Hello, my name is Kyle Horne. I'm a freelance illustrator and writer based out of Long Island, New York. I I've been crafting and drawing since I was 7 years old. I've been pursuing many activities through pop culture and different arts that I love to bring to the table. I love giving back to the community, especially through my art in a positive way.
Uh, Hi, I'm Brittany Pleasant. I'm a crochet artist from Long Island. I've been doing this for roughly 11 years, and I mostly make dolls focusing around geekdom, pop culture, superheroes, anime, stuff like that.
And I am Marcus Pleasant. I go by Leo P. And I am also a writer. And I'm working on getting certified as a health and wellness coach. And I'm looking to integrate that into the gaming community.
Hi, I'm Law. I am a creative jack of all trades, photographer, videographer, Twitch streamer, podcaster, poet, the whole nine. I just released a book last month. Yeah, last month. My first book, 15 poems, 15 photos, lifelong childhood project that I've been wanting to do since I was like 17. So that's a little bit of me. Raining from the Bronx, unlike these guys.
Well, well, three generations of is it three generations? Yeah, three generations of Drezen men came from the Bronx. I was the break in that chain. Yep. Pelham
Oh,
Parkway North, man. Pelham
dude,
Parkway
what
North.
happened? You had one. You
What?
had one job, Rich.
Well,
One
what happened was my dad, who is a pharmacist, whose father was a pharmacist, whose grandfather was a pharmacist. The only job that he was able to get out of pharmacy school in 1975 was at Rikers Island. Because I mean, at that point, pharmacies were, they were storefronts, and he was looking to get into hospital pharmacy. But anyways, yeah. Hi, Dad. He doesn't mind when I tell his personal history because it's a little bit of my personal history too. So, anyways, I can't thank all of you enough for wanting to participate in this. I've known each of our guests for quite a while
Been a few years now.
since we've. I met Lawrence through Sebastian Bonet, who was a co-writer and featured cover artist on the Lucky Zilla comics, and Brittany, Marcus, and Kyle and I all know each other from pretty much the same shows. So where was I going with this? I can't remember. I'm so sorry. It's been a long day, but
No worries. No
I am
worries.
so glad that you're all here. So
Same.
to start off the roundtable discussion, I got to come up with a better name for that. That'll be for um, next year's
The
streams.
Drezen discussion.
The dress discussions. So
Listen, it works.
yeah, definitely. So when did you discover that you had a creative spark? Feel free to give a little of your life story, note your influences, if any. I mean, if anything is a bit of a heady subject, just give us a trigger warning. Anyone can start. Jump in wherever.
You what? Well, I'll go.
Okay.
I come from a pretty creative family. Mom went to FIT, beautiful fashion and artistry on her side. My uncle was an artist. I have my sister is a jack of all trades artist herself. So it's kind of just in our nature for the most part. But as most of my family, we have very many arts that we love. So I got into writing about 8th grade, I would say, and poetry around sophomore year of high school. I didn't really get into a lot of other things like photography until the last 5 or so years in videography. But most of my creativity comes in outlets. So a lot of things right now I'm doing D&D. That's been a huge creative writing outlet and tool for me, and a world building tool. Podcasting, streaming, the entire gauntlet of it. I've only been really doing for the last 5 or so years, maybe a little bit longer, 2015, 2016, some ballpark like that. But the influences come from everywhere, and I'm thankful to have a good team around me, usually with between In Beyond, between Geek Ronin crew, the Nerds crew, and just everyone in between.
Oh yeah, I've been on the Nerds of the Round.
Yes, you have.
Show. It's a riot.
It's a wild time for sure.
Oh yes, yeah, and I mean I can certainly relate to D&D because it was my experiences with D&D that in some small way led to the development of Lucky Zilla the game, which I accidentally clicked on the slideshow for the ads that normally play for the show. Yeah, yep. But our viewers will see on the side, the left side of your screen. These are this is a carousel of images showing off our featured guests' work. We got Kyle up top. We've got Law's book, and I guess headshot or let's call it a headshot. In the middle. And,
mine.
Yep.
I was like headshot. No one else has headshots. I was like, oh, me. I'm the headshot. Got it.
Oh, and we have.
This is Azrael.
Nice.
I read that run of Batman too. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say it's from the Batman family.
Oh, definitely. What was his name? Jean-Paul
Valley.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that was the Nightfall run of stories. Damn that Bane. All right, so who wants to jump in next? Give us a little of your life story. Don't be shy. You're.
Sure. I'll go next if it's okay.
Good.
So pretty much ever since the age of 7 years old, I always wanted to pursue creative endeavors when it comes to art and writing and everything like that. I took a lot of my influences from pop culture, mostly of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And as I started to grow up and finish off school and everything, I started to do a lot more volunteering, and I was very inspired to work on stories that would help with different communities, whether it's helping with disabled individuals or just overall benefiting the community that I live in. But pretty much I've been having a lot of great opportunities to showcase my art and help make a positive influence on a lot of different individuals in my daily life. But it's been a wonderful experience, and especially when it comes to some of the books that I've created and helped write and illustrate.
Well, certainly. Yeah, especially with Beyond Condition. Now, before COVID went and screwed everything up, you had found your way to one of my previous jobs, the Toledo group, and I said to my boss, I'm like, oh, you got to let me handle this book. Because, I mean, I've had the luxury of printing just about every single one of my own books, and it's a nice experience, although it can be a little hair-raising for those who don't have experience in the printing industry. But Kyle puts a lot of really thoughtful preparation into his books. I've seen you've shared with me some of your work in progress, and Beyond Condition in particular is if you want to talk about a little of that, because the book Beyond Condition is like, wow. I had no idea of these experiences. Plus, I also loved the ghost dog character.
Oh, yes.
That was cool.
When it comes to Beyond Conditions, I take it it's based partially on my own personal experiences. When around the age of 22, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. If you know Crohn's disease, it's very similar, but as a result, I have met so many wonderful individuals through some of the foundations and other organizations that I've been able to work with. And it inspired me to create this story, not only based on the experiences of having that as I go through my daily life, but also the encounters that I make with people, both the positives and negatives and things like that. But my main goal with the book is to leave a good impact on anyone that picks it up, and hopefully brighten their day and realize that, despite whatever you might have or whatever you might be dealing with, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, art often imitates life, and I mean, sometimes, whether it's something pleasant or something unpleasant that you try to spin into a positive, I mean, it can really make a difference for someone in the long run. So I think we're up to Brittany and Marcus. Marcus and Brittany, you can rock, paper, scissors, whoever wants to go first.
Actually, I think you guys should rock, paper, scissors. I'm here for it.
The cat too.
Rock, paper, scissors. You go.
Okay. I've always been very crafty. I've always been a very crafty person. Pretty much cat hair in my mouth. I like to say that pretty much, I don't know, as soon as I had the fine motor skills to hold, I don't know, a pencil or scissors or whatever, I was always doing something. All the little kids crafts, perler beads I was really into. There was a time where I was designing wooden boxes. I was painting and lining them with felt and making them all fancy and stuff like that. And when I was younger, my mom actually introduced me to crochet. She's a crocheter. She does the typical crocheting, your blankets, Afghans, scarves, hats, stuff like that. She's always done that for as long as I can remember. So she wanted to teach me one day. I sucked at it. I was terrible. I really had the hopes of making, like little blankets for my dolls and my bears and stuff like that. I was really hopeful that I would take to it, but it was terrible. Everything came out stiff like cardboard. It was just awful. And I actually wrote off crocheting entirely. I was like, well, this is not something I'm good at. I don't have any plans of trying this again in the future. And then fast forward to when I was about 21, I saw these little dolls online. They are called amigurumi, and they're small. That's a Japanese word for small crochet doll. And I spent so many months looking at them, admiring them, wishing, hoping that I could, I don't know, magically be able to do it somehow without trying. So one day I just decided, okay, I'm going to try this out. I have a very minor background in crocheting. I'm going to see how it works. And it was kind of like magic. I kind of realized this is what I was meant to do. I actually, my very first doll, I altered the pattern as I was doing it so it would suit my taste better. So like I knew that was my very first one. So I knew that this was something I was born to do. It's something I love, and I decided to marry my love of anime, geekdom, stuff like that with my crocheting. So I make popular characters and stuff. I also like really cute things. So I create original characters that I think are just adorable, and people really seem to gravitate toward them. So
That they most certainly do, and I mean, I can kind of relate to your background a little bit, because I did comics from a very young age. I was imitating what I saw in Archie's Sonic comics, but my skills then were. And I mean, even when I did my very first published Lucky comic in 1998 or 9. And it miraculously sold 18 copies, I then decided to up the ante, redo the entire thing, and I ended up with 2 penciled 64-page Lucky-Zilla comics that I got a little too ahead of myself with, and over time I just kept looking at them. I'm like, this is garbage. I ended up publishing them years later, but I swore off comics for 15 years and dabbled in animation with various degrees of success and failure. I ended up on network TV, and I also ended up in a dead-end job for 5.5 years. But, you know, I mean, hey, you know, sometimes things just click. And I'm glad that they clicked for you, because, wow. I mean, the way that that you crochet, and I mean, just crochet in general, my paternal grandmother, who passed away in September 2020, she made blankets for everyone in the family. We still have several of hers. So as you're talking about crocheting, I'm just like, hey, Grandma, got a fellow crocheter here. You could learn a few tips from her. Yeah. So, I think we're up to you now, Marcus.
Yeah, so for myself, I'm similar to Lawrence in how I've always been a jack of all trades. You know, growing up, I did martial arts. I was a musician for many years. You know, I play piano, sing, rap, you know, and I've always been science-minded or interested in just how things work together. So what I'm doing now actually came out of having the opportunity to dive into my interest more because of COVID. So I was looking to get certified as a health and wellness coach before it all happened. But then, since the world spun on its head because people didn't have basic information, I'm like, this is a great time to do it. But what I'm really interested in is gaming. How do I integrate the two? Because it's an underserved market. So the fastest growing industry in the world is gaming, besides conventional tech. You know, it's worth more than movies and music combined globally. So who's serving these kids? Because most of them are kids. You know, the average consumer is about 36, but the average player, you know, competitor is younger. So I was like, how do I integrate my two interests together? So right now I'm working on creating a practical way to teach people mindfulness, meditation, just basic lifestyle habits that will help improve their overall wellness, but all under the guise of improving yourself as a gamer, as a player, as a competitor. Because if I just say to a 17-year-old kid, hey, take these supplements, sleep better, meditate, you're like, I don't care about that. I'm trying to win this tournament. But if I wrap it up in well-crafted and cultivated content through video essays or podcasts or things of that nature, by saying, hey, the average reaction time is such and such, and the way you could increase that is by lowering inflammation, by moving a little bit more, going to sleep at an optimal time, stop slamming Red Bulls, and things of that nature, to make it more appealing to them. Then I'll be able to not only help you become a better gamer, but maybe potentially save some lives.
No, most certainly, and I mean, as you were speaking, I'm taking in everything everyone's saying, and I'm taking it to heart. I'm also juggling between making sure everyone gets a significant amount of screen time, but I'm not making fun. But I do want to ask, because I know someone's going to get something out of this. What kind of meditation suggestions would you make to someone that enjoys beat 'em up games, like for example, Alien versus Predator or The Simpsons?
So the minutia of what you play doesn't matter. I'm actually working on an ebook now. I'm really close to finishing it up. I'm hoping within the next like 2 or 3 days I'll be done. So the way that I'm actually looking at that ebook is mindfulness integrated with tiny habits. Because what happens is people think they don't have enough time to do stuff, whatever it is, be play, meditation, exercise. We come up with excuses that we're so busy. Now, it's partially true. You can be busy, right? But there's a difference between getting things done and being busy. So if you're putting what the goal is first, then you'll better be able to accomplish the task, because otherwise you're just going to give yourself a bunch of busy work. Now, if you're playing a game with the intention of play, you're already succeeding and you wouldn't need to meditate from the stress, right? So that's one thing that I'm integrating into the ebook, is trying to show people that you have to give yourself permission to have fun. Because right now, everybody feels like, oh man, I wasted so much time playing this game. And then you convince yourself you didn't enjoy it, but you spent a couple hours doing the thing because you enjoyed it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done it. So the easiest thing to do is always bring it to your breath, right? Because your breath is a thing that you do involuntarily, but you can also control. So start integrating it in little tiny portions of your day. So when you drive, one way I got really good at focusing on deep breaths is whenever you drive, every red light, you use the red light to take deep inhales through your nose and slow exhales out your mouth. So if you do it every red light that you get to, you're going to do it when you get home. So when you start getting stressed from losing that level, or you're playing in, Call of Duty and you're dealing with a bunch of campers or whatever the case may be, and you're feeling yourself getting tense, the immediate thing you're going to do, because you trained your nervous system to do, is breathe. And that's changes your parasympathetic nervous system to calm you down. And then you become more relaxed, you become more focused, and then you're not going to rage and break your controller.
That is fantastic information. I'm gonna be applying that tomorrow to work for sure, because it's
anything you do, anytime you're feeling,
take notes, everyone.
Anytime you're feeling overwhelmed,
yes,
if you just allow yourself to feel overwhelmed, you will go that route. Mm-hmm. And then whatever the next thing that's going to come from that, frustration, anger, upset. But if you're cognizant that you're starting to feel the overwhelm, you just pause for a moment, tell yourself in your mind, I'm feeling the overwhelm. What can you do simply? Now, you can't just walk out your job, obviously, but you can go to the bathroom. You can get some water. You can stretch. You could take a couple deep breaths. As long as you assign the awareness to the thing, then it becomes easier to do something about it. If you're just reactive to it, then you're just going to be a victim to whatever comes next.
Yeah, this is very true, and I can certainly relate to that. I had another question. I I can't remember what it was. And it drives my fiance nuts. Hi, Steph. Yeah, because I mean, it's like I'll be trying to ask a question, then something else will come up, then a squirrel will walk by, and then it's like, oh yeah, what was I gonna say?
This is the life of a host.
Things. Yeah, I know. Seriously, and I mean, I feel like I have it so much easier compared to a lot of people, but
Just takes practice. The more you do
yeah.
this, the easier it gets.
Oh yeah, and I mean, setting goals is part of the secret, but it's also not a secret because I mean, if you do keep focused, you know that should be enough. I mean, yeah, you can't stop everything from just flying at you, but you can control where those hits land. Sometimes they just kind of whoosh by. At least that's the way it should be, but, well, you know. Anyways, let's see. So, I think everyone answered the second question, which is what drives you now? What are you working on? And what works in progress would you like to show us? I mean, you can just hold them up to the camera because if I allow screen sharing, I think it's going to mess up our little Brady Bunch thing. So
I don't really have, well, technically I have stuff, but you'd have to like go to YouTube to look for it. I am working on season 2 of my YouTube series Sessions, where I follow someone who is creating their album all the way from the inception to the final stages of creation and putting it out. So any shows they're doing, studio sessions, collaborative things. My buddy who's in the second season, Demetrius, fantastic R&B singer, went to Miami for a songwriting competition, so I followed him down there for that. So everything in between. So season 2 should be underway again because the pandemic like kind of put everything to a halt, and we were like 80% done. But we just got back into the studio, I want to say like a couple weeks back, and we should be done by early April. We're hoping, fingers crossed. That's one of like the many things I'm doing. I juggle a lot of like miscellaneous plates.
I hear you, man. I mean, fingers crossed it does finish by April, but absolute worst case scenario, April 2nd. That'll be fine. April 3rd.
We'll be all right.
Yeah, everything will work out. I mean, if you want, any one of us can stand next to you and be like,
Hey, finish the thing.
all right. So, anyone else want to comment? What drives you now? What are you working on? Any commissions that you got going on that you haven't signed an NDA or any of that kind of stuff? You know, anything that isn't under lock and key.
Well, I'm working on, so I recently developed new doll bodies, kind of. Before I was working on my 6-inch dolls, and now I've developed about a 4.5-inch doll size with the same size head, so it's a little more chibi, it's a little more cute, and it kind of makes more sense because, you know, I'm all about the cuteness. So I'm working on developing the patterns for all of them so I can sell the patterns for anybody who wants to, you know, make them themselves. I've got a few of them here. I know I sent you a couple pictures of a few of them, but I have like a little Hulk here. I've got Spider-Man. So just these cute little, I really like the proportions of these. Captain America came out pretty cute. So yeah, I'm putting the developing the patterns. Marcus is helping me with the keywords and stuff like that to put up in my Etsy shop. So hopefully people will want to make their very own. And I'm calling these bits. So maybe somebody will want to make their very own The Artisan's Nook Bits character.
Do your own
Nice,
bit.
nice.
Or something along those lines. Do your
Yeah.
own bit. I can't think of any unique catchphrases tonight.
Don't try to think of them. Let them come to you.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
flow naturally.
Yes. Goose fraba.
Listen, as many years as I've been doing this, almost every funny, memorable, like notable thing comes from just letting it like flow.
Oh yes.
Promise you that. Seabass is in chat right now. He can tell you 1,000 times that we've just said something on air and it fucking stuck, and we're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, one in particular was Mayhem Mike, who I should have reached out to him. Mike Alexander, Mayhem Mike, host of Last Stop on the L, one of the funniest guys I've ever met. We were doing a bad superhero movie episode of Nerds of the Round, and I quote, he's like, when you see certain actors, actresses that are in a movie that's so bad you wonder why they're in it, that's what we call cut the check.
Yeah.
I made a gif out of that. Next year we got to have him on. I thought, hey, I should reach out to him, and then I was just like, wait a minute, I forgot to do my Lucky Zilla page.
Trust me, if you can reach Mike, it'd be a miracle. That man is one of the busiest people I know.
Hey, well, it's good to be busy, but I'm sure he has goals.
Absolutely.
I'm even certain he can shapeshift like Gumby and go in like 7 different directions, and like anyone. There was something going on with Gumby where I think Fox bought the rights and they're gonna like do it. Some nonsense.
They're bringing back Gumby for real?
I think
Mm-hmm.
so. Yeah. And
Okay.
Eddie Murphy isn't voicing him, so far as I know. I mean, that'd be cool.
Oh man.
Yes. There is a question from the chat. How do you guys deal, guys, girls, and artists of all genders, how do you deal with a creative mental block?
Anybody want to handle that first?
I try to. Should I go first or?
Yeah.
All right.
I try to have different outlets. Like, so I might have like 2 or 3 projects going at once, so that it never gets stagnant. I also look to other outlets. Sometimes I'll play music or put on something in the background to just inspire me. And then sometimes I'll go out and maybe like walk around or take a few photos here and there to use as reference. Just anything to, go beyond your headspace. And if you're, because especially if you're working day and night on a project, it, especially in a confined space, it can be a little, tiring, and it can be a lot of work just to, be creative. But if you go and venture out into other spaces and, see your surroundings, then it will improve your ability to move past those blocks, because it's happened from time to time, especially when trying to work on stories or characters. It can be very difficult, but there's ways to improve working on that aspect and getting past it.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, sometimes you do have to get out of your own head, and, especially if it's something you've researched and something that, say it's even your own personal experience, you go and you look at a photo album of yourself at like, I don't know, 5, 6, even 10 years old. You're like, what was happening around that time that I can maybe use as filler or background? I mean, can anyone else relate to that? I mean, Law, you've been at this for quite a while, at least with what you were saying in the intro.
So to Kyle's point, like definitely like try to put something down and be comfortable like walking away from it. I am a huge advocate of like, it'll be there unless you have like a deadline or something. And I know a lot of times we do, but even still, like give yourself the time to just mentally shut down and shut everything off. I heard the rule of like one for you, one for me. So like when you have like that mental break of, you know, I've been putting out all these projects for other people and for commissions and for whatever, but you haven't done anything to like fuel yourself as a creative. Like you haven't done your own project that you're really, you know, jazzed for and what have you. Um, and then also just like being around creatives always helps me, like being in creative spaces and circles, you know, running things by like a couple of my friends and being like, hey, I have this idea for something. Does it seem like it's possible? Or let's brainstorm, let's do whatever. um or just turning off your brain and just doing something, you know, that you enjoy but doesn't feel taxing to the brain. You know, having all these outlets super helps. I have D&D, video games, movies, and like all the things that I do. So like I try not to have the one thing be my sole thing, because if I can't do that, then I'm stressed that I can't do that.
Oh, I hear you wholeheartedly. Now, Brittany, you said you were developing some of your own characters in crochet. I mean, do you ever run into any kind of creators, artists, writer's block, or any of that? Or
Well, yeah, definitely.
gotcha.
And I completely agree with Lawrence. Sometimes you just need to step away from it, because a lot of times the block that you're feeling comes from just you're burnt out. Sometimes that's what it is. You're just plain burnt out. And sometimes you need to take a break, need to, you know, like focus on things that you like, not just for productivity's sake, not just to be productive. Sometimes you need to just, you know, like put everything down, veg out, watch your favorite show, you know, play your favorite game, whatever. And then like I've found for me, every single time, once I've given myself that little bit of, you know, that little bit of rest, that little bit of distance, it kind of just like it like magically comes to me. So yeah, if you're feeling a block, don't force it, because I find that 100% of the time that does not help. Trying to force something when like you just can't reach it, it's you're not going to get there, or at least you're not going to get there to the degree that you want to get there. It's not going to be, you know, fully fleshed out in the way that you want. So yeah, 100%. I walk away from something if I have a block, and then it, you know, it eventually does come to me when it's ready, when the idea is ready to come to me.
I will say I just recently got over a writer's block. So I was, you know, banging my head against the wall as we do when you can't come up with anything. So I shifted my focus to something that has value, like fixing my sleep. You know, my sleep quality is trash. So that's the thing that was really holding me back. So I was like, been working on trying to fix my sleep. And when I got good days of sleep, I would go and do a little bit of the thing that I was working on before. Not write 2,000 words for the day. I wrote 50 words, wrote 100 words. I did something towards the thing that I wanted to do. And then eventually I started to go, oh, you know, I want to keep doing this. And then I started getting back into that cycle. And then what I noticed is as I pruned down the goal from saying I need to do this thing, say I'm capable of doing, let's say I'm capable of doing 2,000 words today, but I'm feeling a little low on energy, or maybe I skipped lunch today or whatever. So I'm gonna hit 1,000 words. And like Lawrence said, unless you have a deadline, you know, give yourself that little break, but do what you can do, right? And if you can parse it into smaller pieces, becomes much more achievable. And also give yourself the praise for what you accomplish. Now, don't overinflate it, you know, where like, if it's, man, I wrote 10 words today. I mean, you ain't really doing that. You know, but if you went 2 months and didn't pick up a pen, pat yourself on the back for those 10 words, because you got yourself out of a hole. So you got to give yourself credit where it's due. And conversely, you also do have to develop discipline and cultivate grit, because if you don't do that, when those deadlines come up, you're going to be like, yeah, I'll get to it tomorrow, but you can't put off tomorrow if somebody's paying you for it. So there's that happy balance that you need to find between giving yourself the freedom to get what you can get done with the energy you have, but then also through those tiny habits you cultivate, you develop some grit to be able to push yourself to those higher levels when you need to. But learning when there's those higher levels that you need is the important thing. If you're applying that every single day, you're going to burn out, and then you're not going to be able to do the thing that you want to do for a long period of time. So learning when it's time to go overdrive and when to put that energy in, and then also learning when to take your foot off the gas pedal. It's really important.
Ain't that the truth?
100%, man.
Yep.
You got to know what's in the tank. You got to know how to check your own self, and the self check light. If you don't,
what you said is also really important. We're having a good social group as well.
Yeah.
So having people that can hold you accountable. Sometimes we're working on
too.
abstract
Absolutely.
ideas. When you're working on an abstract idea, it's a little difficult to have a social group because they might not see the vision. And then sometimes you don't want to share your vision with people that don't see it because they'll disparage you. And they don't mean to. They're asking questions to protect you, right? And that might be a thing that'll be messing with your writer's block as well. It's because you lost confidence in yourself because you shared it with too many people.
Right.
But
that's happened with South Park a few times.
Yeah. But then on the flip side, when you have a good social group, they're going to hold you accountable. Hey, did you write today? Or when's that thing coming out? You said it was coming out Thursday. It's Friday. That's important too.
I usually try to keep the one person who has no idea what I do, or a very vague sense of what I do, and keep them in the circle, because while they appreciate it, they have no context for it. So they're kind of like the test group of a lot of my work, or whatever I'm working on, or whatever I'm doing rather. And on the flip side of that, you have people who you consider your peers, and they're the ones who give you the harsh truths and the critiques and whatnot, and they keep you in line. So having both is really nice, especially if the people who don't know what you're doing or aren't necessarily in your same field are also creatives. While they may not get what you're doing because they're not creative in that right, they are still creative, so they understand the struggles or the hiccups or whatever, what have you.
I agree.
Yeah. Now, before we get to one of the deeper questions, I do want to ask, I want to ask two questions. Has anyone else here tried crocheting? And if so, what did you try to make? Don't be shy. We're all friends here.
As the person married to the crocheter, absolutely not. And I won't ever try it because I am not one for that type of tedium. I would go insane ASAP. I can't do it. I'm fixed in the same spot for too long, doing the same thing for too long. I couldn't imagine. That's why I'm always bewildered by her cranking out, X amount of dolls in one day. She's been in the same spot. I'm like, yo, my back hurts for you.
You're taking one for the team. Yeah. I was at a yarn show at I think it was one of the Times Square hotels in Manhattan, and this was with an ex, so we're going back quite a few years. And some of the stuff that I saw at that show just blew my freaking mind. There was a crocheted hamburger that was 2.5 feet in diameter. Brittany, were you at that same show?
No, I've never been to a show like that. I would enjoy that.
The stuff I've seen on the internet where someone made a life-size Thanos out of crochet. I think I want to say it was the same person that did what was it, life-size they do props and weapons and nerdy stuff. So it's life-size thing, but they're all crochet. I think that's what they did. They did a Snorlax, not so much life-size, but they did a big crochet version, and I was like, that looks so nice to just
It's crazy.
go ham on. And I'm done for the day.
Craziest thing I've ever seen. It was somebody who they crocheted basically like a human suit. Like she crocheted a human suit. It's exactly what you think, just like with face and everything.
I hope that's not what I think.
That
Like,
that
no.
her teenage son, that she had her teenage son wear and just like walk around with. It was really, really creepy and so unsettling. It was like out of control, but I mean, that's a
Like-
lot of dedication. I don't know.
I've never seen this. What it reminds me of
Seen
is
something like that.
Community. Their
That sounds-
mascot in Community.
It sounds like something that you would see on Are You Afraid of the Dark, or perhaps, you know, a Little
Anything
Big
horrifying?
Planet parody
Yeah.
of.
It's basically Leatherface if he had the rest of the body.
Oh, there we go.
That's exactly where I went with it off the jump.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
crazy.
nightmare material.
Oh wow.
But what I say to people with crocheting, it takes a certain type of like tedium and monotony, and for you kind of go one of two ways. You don't really, it's not like tedium is okay, monotony is okay. It's either something that kind of soothes you and calms you and grounds you, or it's something that just drives you nuts and you'd rather do anything in the world. You'd rather jump off a cliff. For me, it happens to the monotony. It's soothing. It's kind of like white noise, to me. And so I find that most people are just like one or the other. So if tedium and monotony, the idea of it makes you want to jump off a cliff, crochet probably isn't for you.
Hey, I mean, the work you do is fantastic, and I mean, there's always a method to the madness, and I mean, there was a while back where I did consider sewing dolls. Luckily, I met someone, and I know you, the guy who made my plushes. He does that, and that's all hand sewed. Now, all of your crocheting is hand crocheting. There's no machinery involved.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, crochet is not machine reproducible. It's not, you can't do it. You can use a machine to knit, but not crochet.
Well, I will disagree with one thing that you said, that it's not unfortunate. It's very fortunate, because I mean, you see it here. I mean, if you're paying attention to the slideshow, no, it's in that direction.
Bottom left.
Yep.
Bottom left corner.
Bottom left. Bottom left. I mean, the work speaks for itself.
Mhm.
Now we're getting into some heady questions. As I mean, there is so much positivity. I hate to bring about any negativity, and wait, that came out very awkwardly, but yeah, I mean, with all of our triumphs and our successes, I mean, there's always going to be, the inevitable challenges. So I'm curious how any of you have dealt with them, addressed them. I mean, like I had mentioned, no issues are off the table, so feel free to even interject with some other things that even I wouldn't think of, or anyone for that matter. Now I'll ask the actual question. Have you ever felt like you've been silenced in any way at any time? And what did you do to go about breaking that silence?
Is there a framework that it's specific to?
Not particular. I mean, I probably should have thought of that. But yeah, I
I
mean,
would
it could be
assume in our art.
in our art, in the fan community, in anything. Because I mean, the internet has paved the way for a lot of good, and it's also paved the way for questionable Sonic fan art. Yeah, I know. I opened that can of worms, but
I guess I could try to tackle this.
yeah, sure.
So, like I said, I've always been really crafty. I've always been a crafter. I've kind of always considered myself an artist, but especially when I was younger, and times are very, very different now. So if I were, a kid now, I probably wouldn't have gone through this. But back then, back in the old days, I was told that I wasn't an artist. I was told that I was a crafter. I did crafty things. What I did was not art, they were crafts. And I never really felt that way. And even when I first started getting into crocheting amigurumi, I was told that that was not art. I remember one time I tried to, because my library, they would have students' artwork on display, for like a week or so or a month, something like that. They would have, like a display where you can display your art. And my stuff didn't meet the criteria. I was told that I wasn't an artist and I wouldn't be able to display my stuff there. So that's kind of something that's always like a complex that I've kind of always had, where I always felt I was an artist and I knew I was an artist. But nobody else saw me that way because I didn't do, I didn't use traditional media. I didn't paint. I didn't draw. I didn't do, anything that would be considered professional. So that was, I'd say that's probably the hardest thing that I've been met with. Things have gotten a lot different just because society is changing. Everybody's a lot more open-minded about everything. So now, as I've always seen myself as an artist, I feel like a lot more people actually do see me as an artist because I am. What I do is art. I create these patterns. Like I don't always make my own characters, obviously, like when I'm making pop culture characters, but I recreate them in a completely different medium. And that is art. And yeah, so that's really the biggest thing that I can relate to. That's where I was told to basically stop what you're doing. You're not an artist. You will never be an artist. But I knew that I was, and I pushed past it. And thankfully, we've gotten to a point where it is a lot more accepted. But yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, and good for you. I mean, it is art. It's sort of like the story that I heard Neil Adams tell about Norman Rockwell, and I briefly shared this on the last episode. The quote was to Norman Rockwell from some of his artist friends: "A real artist doesn't trace." Well, what about inking in comic books? What about the ink and paint work in animation, the traditional sense? I mean, it is art. It's a particular skill in art, but it's art. Like, can this person that's judging being like, "Oh yeah, this is an art." Well, then can you do that? Like, really? No? Okay. All right, great. So, will that be
come a
with or without
long
ice?
way.
Yeah.
We've come a long
I
way.
would say my angle is a little different. I didn't get. Honestly, I don't know if I ever been met with that type of opposition because I never cared. I'm always that type of person. Even when I was a kid, I was always like, yeah, whatever you got to say. I don't find you that interesting. So what you're saying is not interesting. But as a gamer, it wasn't what it is now. Similar to what she was saying, where her art is being accepted as art now, where a few years back, it wasn't. Growing up in the 90s, if you played games, you weren't doing anything with your life. And that, to me, never really affected me because I played football, I did martial arts, but I felt like they were disparaging my friends who were gamers, who weren't, sporty. But then now, look how much money gaming is making. And some of my best friends today I met through games, through tournaments. So like going to a tournament, met this person here, and then now we're spending birthdays and stuff together, you know. And from that, if I didn't spend so much time gaming, I wouldn't have figured out the direction that I'm going in now, integrating wellness in for gamers. You know, so I did meet a little bit of roadblocks in how people perceived an interest, but I wouldn't say it was the same type of opposition that she met or felt disparaged about it. I kind of took it the other way, where it was a motivating factor, where it's like, why are you so oppositional to this thing that I'm interested in, that's filling me and my friends with joy? So I took that as a thing that invigorated me to do the opposite of what they wanted.
Yeah, most definitely. I really admire your confidence. About 15 years ago, I would not have had the same confidence. I probably should have known you then. I would have gotten through high school a lot easier.
Confidence skill is something you build over time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I have no regrets overall, but yeah, you know, it's a learning experience. You know, I've had even more challenges working in the printing industry with certain people who will not be named. Although I could, well, you know, I don't consider myself a vindictive person.
100% to Marcus's point is find your tribe. Like
Yes.
from jump, it makes it so much easier because all of the negativity, the hate, like becomes white noise at that point, where, you know, people are like, oh, you can't do this, you can't, and it's like, I'm doing it. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm doing it. And like throughout the years, art is so like broad and changing. Like the term artist is such a wide spectrum, and it's all subjective. Like I've had people be like, you know, they'll look at my photography and be like, well, you didn't do this, and you did. I'm like, I'm not doing photography for you, unless like you're my client. I am not doing photography for you. I am absolutely not doing it for you. This is what I saw. This is what I want. You can sit there and do a million different techniques and this and this and this. I'm trying to get that shot that I see, that I want, and like I want to have, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, it's also like if you go on a job interview, or let's say you're in the senior year of college and you have to do some portfolio review or resume building class, and then you show them your resume with the stuff that you've done, and they're like, oh yeah, this doesn't read properly. Well, this is my work experience. No, this isn't it. And then I went on at least one job interview where I showed off my stuff. They're like, well, do you have any graphic design? And I'm like, I published like 15 of my own publication. I mean, there's graphic design right in front of you. Yeah, but those are drawings. I know those are drawings. But... oh yeah, and by the way, I made a board game. So what else do you have to say? And what is this job again? I can't remember because I applied to like, I don't know, maybe 400 jobs in my lifetime. I mean, I honestly, if I do want to give a piece of advice to anyone who in some form or another has to work a day job to pay the bills, because yeah, nothing's cheap, is whatever, if you're going for a graphic design position, bring your portfolio, even if it's stuff that you crocheted, even if it's stuff that you think is not going to work in the corporate world. It'll make an impression because it'll show that, hey, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can handle what you're going to throw at me. So, yeah.
Yes. As far as me, I haven't personally ran into situations when it comes to my art where I was told in a negative way that it was something that I shouldn't be doing or I can't do. I was lucky enough to have supportive like friends and family that encouraged that, but I have dealt with different forms of rejection as it comes to like either submitting art or say I was publishing something, it was just making sure that it was as good as it could be. I have run into that, and it's something that take you have to take in and improve upon, either some of the stuff that, whether it's a client or if it's something that you're working, like say I'm sending it to an editor or even an agent and stuff. Like my book, I have started sending out to a few agents and editors, and sometimes you take the rejection but you improve upon it, and and maybe you go in a different direction, like some of the suggestions. But it's something where art has always been something where it's very subjective. So sometimes it's good for one person where it can't be for another. But it's something personally where I haven't run into as much. But I just work on myself and try to work on my craft and things when I do get criticism.
I hear you. All right. I mean, I think those are all the questions that I had. So,
I
does
was going
anyone
to
else
ask,
have?
building off of criticism, how do you guys deal with unsolicited criticism?
Oh,
Like the people who were like, "Oh yeah, if I did this," or like, "You should do this," and it's like, I wasn't asking for any of that at
It
all.
depends. I feel like you have to decide how you listen to any conversation. So if somebody says Raisin Bran is the best cereal and you hate Raisin Bran, their opinion is null and void to you. So the same thing that criticism applies to your art. The big determining factor is how much you're willing to be vulnerable by attaching the way you respond to your art, because it is a piece of you. So that's why every criticism might seem like a dagger. But there might be some random person that gives an unsolicited piece of criticism that is like, you know what? That actually was right. I didn't realize that. But you have to.
Is it also in the approach too, like how they say it?
For sure. I mean, if I said, I do this to Britt all the time, joking around. I say, you get everything you deserve, but with that tone, right? It's so confusing because it's like, but I do it as a joke, right? Because if I say, yo, Lawrence, you getting everything you deserve, it feels good, right?
Right.
But if I'm like, yo, you get everything you deserve, you're like, wait, what is happening?
That is such a mixed signal.
Exactly. So I do that to her joking around. But the point is that the delivery, right? So you have to look at how you're willing to receive whatever information is coming in. I like what Rich was talking about with social media or technology in general. It's the way that you deliberately choose to use it. So if you're a person that avoids social media and the social discourse that's online, then you don't feel bad about it. Like myself, I don't engage in any other conversations online. So I only think of social media and technology as a tool because I deliberately choose to view it that way. Now, do I know that there's detriment online? For sure. But the way that I apply it to my life is through that lens. So the same, you could do the same for criticism. Once you hear it being unconstructive to you, you just go, yeah, I don't really care about this. Let the person finish what they're saying just because you're probably not rude, and then you just move on with your day. But you can also mine those nuggets where they are.
Oh, that's great advice.
Exactly.
I'm getting so much great advice out of this, and it seems like people in the chat are too. There's just so much positivity, and I mean, this is why I put these groups together, and I mean, and the and everyone just from the bottom of my heart, I am so glad that you were able to participate in this. If there was a way that everyone in the chat could give our wonderful guests a round of applause and follow them on their socials. I'm going to highlight them one at a time now so that we get to see them. And does anyone have any final
I have
words?
so many things.
Oh, okay.
No, not final words. I looked at because I'm watching it and I'm like, I gave so much information, but that's also because I'm working on multiple things at the same time.
It's good to have your hand in many pots, especially when you know where the pots are and where you need to refill and where you need to start bailing and, you know, which ones are just right. So, anyone want to rock, paper, scissors? just for kicks.
I mean, wait,
uh,
there's 5 of us. I feel like with 5 of us, there's a chance that people get eliminated. We could work our way from all 5 of us to 1.
Oh, okay.
I'm here for it. If it was an even number, then it'd be a little bit more difficult.
All right, we could try a round. I mean, we're gonna overthink it.
Of course. on 3 or
Rock,
shoot.
paper, scissors says shoot.
Okay, got it.
Rock, paper, scissors says shoot. We can't even see your hand. You cheating. Kyle cheated. You know for sure Kyle had paper. He said, he went like this. He went, whoops.
I'm looking at the camera, but then
He said,
From the top.
and then came back up like this.
so you want me to go first?
You lost.
Yeah.
That's what we
Oh,
established.
okay. All right, so.
Oh, we going again? Oh,
yeah. I think we're trying to get the champion right now.
Last.
All right.
Playoffs.
Let's do this.
Ready? Rock, paper, scissors says shoot.
Oh.
Oh, I win.
Marcus just wins automatically.
A triple
Funny,
play.
I thought to do rock and I was like, nah, I'm gonna do paper.
Second guess yourself.
I did.
So I figured everyone would do rock next because everyone did scissors.
Too
That
late.
was the
I did scissors every round. I did scissors
interesting.
both rounds against her. I did scissors every round.
Gotcha.
He's an anarchist.
I see. He's only in it for the chaos and the lulls.
I won.
Chaos control. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Where is my front camera? So yeah, we will resume Drezen Draws, I believe, next week or the week after or whenever the hell I feel like it. So everyone take care, be safe, and be sure to follow our wonderful guests on this episode and the previous one, which you can watch here on our YouTube channel or Facebook page or wherever you happen to be watching this. Hopefully not illegally, because I will throw a pie at you. So yeah, everyone, thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
thank you.